This is a famous painting of Mansa Musa, the richest man who ever lived. Depicted here is the ruler of the Mali Empire astride an elephant holding a golden scepter, and look closely, an entire mountain of gold at his feet. How did he amass such unimaginable wealth? And what does his story teach us about money, power, and empires? Well, let's dig into it. While Europe was stuck in the Middle Ages, far to the south, the Mali Empire was a flourishing hub of trade. Think of it like this. The Mali Empire was like a giant sponge sitting right on top of a giant gold mine. So basically gold was flowing through their hands like water. Now imagine someone taking that sponge, squeezing it tight, and pocketing all that liquid gold. That someone was Mansa Musa. Now picture this. You're walking through a marketplace. Merchants are shouting. Customers are bargaining. Suddenly, a massive rumble shakes the ground. You turn around and see a massive caravan, like a tiny army of traders approaching, led by a majestic elephant carrying a man on its back. That man was Mansa Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire. His entrance alone was enough to send shockwaves across the market. Because he wasn't just any leader. No, sir. Musa's wealth was so legendary that it could literally move markets. Both literally with his massive caravans and metaphorically causing gold prices to plummet. You see, Mansa Musa was the richest man in history, bar none. And I'm not talking about the richest man in his time. Nah, I'm talking about if you took every single rich person ever, put them all together, and compared that group to Musa, he would still be the richest. Period. So how did he do it? Let me break it down for you. First off, Mali was sitting on a gold mine, both literally and figuratively. They had huge gold reserves and were at the perfect spot to control the gold trade between North Africa and the expanding kingdoms of West Africa. Then there was the salt trade. See, salt wasn't just a condiment for them. It was like gold or maybe even more valuable. Back then, they didn't have refrigerators, so salt was how they kept food from going bad. Since salt was so important, they could charge super high prices for it, especially since they were pretty much the only ones selling it in their region. But it wasn't just about having valuable stuff. It was also about how Mansa Musa managed it. I mean, have you ever seen one of those business gurus on TV talking about how to multiply your wealth? Yeah? Well, Musa was kind of like that. But in real life, when he became the Mansa, or Emperor, of Mali around 1312, he inherited a pretty solid empire. His predecessors had already made Mali into a big deal. But Musa took it to a whole new level. For starters, he tightened up Mali's borders. He didn't want any sneaky neighbors trying to grab their stuff. You know? Like the Berbers and the Tuaregs. So, he put together a legit army, one that would make even Genghis Khan raise an eyebrow. With a powerful army, he could protect those gold mines and salt pits and expand Mali's territory. One time, he crushed a rebellion in a neighboring kingdom, and instead of letting them get back on their feet, he salted the earth. Quite literally. His soldiers piled up so much salt in the fields that it ruined the soil and the crops for years. Talk about sending a message. He wasn't just a warmonger, though. He was also a trader. Remember those massive caravans I mentioned earlier? Yeah. Those were his style. He organized these gigantic groups of traders who would travel across the Sahara Desert to places like North Africa and the Middle East. They carried gold and salt, but also other goods from Mali, like ivory and slaves. And when I say slaves, I don't mean those cool robots from the future. I mean, sadly, real people who were captured in wars or by bounty hunters and then sold to work in mines or fields. It's a dark part of history, but we can't ignore it. Anyway, through all this trading, Mansa Musa's wealth skyrocketed. But it wasn't just about getting rich. It was also about showing off. I mean, why have all that gold if you can't flaunt it? Right, so he lavished gold on anyone who met him, including rival leaders and holy men. He even gave gold to the Sultan of Egypt, who was like, whoa, dude, you're seriously upping the ante. How am I supposed to compete with this? And then Musa was like, bring on your best offer. And the Sultan played the game until he ran out of gold. This friendly competition made Musa even richer, and he just kept on giving and receiving gold. In fact, he gifted so much gold, he practically flooded the market with it, driving down the price. Imagine you're at a lemonade stand and you have the best lemonade in town. But suddenly, someone comes along with an industrial-sized jug of lemonade and starts selling it for pennies. What would that do to your business? Well, exactly. That happened to gold prices thanks to Musa's generosity. Speaking of generosity, let's talk about his famous pilgrimage to Mecca. See, Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim, and like all Muslims, he had a dream to go on Hajj to the Mecca. Now, for those who don't know, the Hajj is considered mandatory duty for all Muslims to complete at least once in their life. It's a journey to the Mecca, which is considered the holiest city in Islam. But Mansa Musa wasn't any ordinary man. So, his Hajj wasn't your typical pilgrimage. He assembled a massive convoy that has become a thing of legend with over 60,000 men, 21 tons of gold, and over 100 elephants! They set out on this adventure, crossing the Sahara Desert and arriving in Cairo in 1334. Here's where things got really interesting. He lavished gold on all passers-by. He gifted it to pilgrims, merchants, and even rival rulers. He practically showered gold on everyone, just as he did in Egypt. He continued his generous ways, showering gifts on the poor, the sick, and the elderly. He even helped build mosques and schools. As he neared Mecca, anticipation grew. Finally, when he stepped into the holy city, the crowds went wild. To this day, stories are told and retold about his incredible pilgrimage. However, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Even though Mansa Musa was rich beyond wildest dreams, he faced challenges. For one, keeping track of all that gold wasn't easy. I mean, you can't exactly keep all those bars in a shoebox. Also, his empire was so big that it was hard to keep everything under control. Plus, while he was busy spreading his wealth, potential enemies were watching closely, waiting for their chance to strike. Well, that, my friends, is the epic tale of Mansa Musa, the richest man who ever lived. His story shows us that money isn't just about counting coins. It's about power, influence, and legacy. Musa wasn't just a ruler. He was a force of nature. He reshaped economies, challenged traditions, and left an indelible mark on history. But remember, with great wealth comes great responsibility. Musa's story is a reminder that managing immense riches is easy, and that even the mightiest empires can crumble. So next time you count your change, think of Mansa Musa and the monumental task of managing unimaginable wealth.